Hi everyone, I'm Freddie, ST8 Orthopaedic Reg in the East Midlands. In this video I'll take you through a tour of my first OTA trip this year, as well as a visit to Houston for a travelling fellowship. So buckle up. Firstly, why go to the OTA? OTA is the Orthopaedic Trauma Association. It's an American organisation. It's pretty big and has a lot of activities and research, teaching, and obviously an annual meeting, which is of a size that we don't tend to see here in the UK. So anyone who's interested in trauma would really benefit from visiting and meeting with other people, networking. You definitely meet orthopedic celebrity there, people that you see their names only on books, you can see face to face there. So definitely, if you're interested in trauma, or if you want to do trauma as a subspecialty, that's a good place to be for networking and for learning. It's an annual event, usually happens in the US, but every now and again it happens in Canada. Now this year's is the 40th meeting, and it was done in Canada. It was in Montreal, and it was my first ever OTA, so it was a novelty to me. I also thought to combine it with a travelling fellowship. I wanted to do a travelling fellowship, something in trauma. So in my head I thought it was a good idea just to combine both, so that I'm not taking leave more than once and travelling more than once. So what I did is I combined the OTA with a visit to Houston, Texas Medical Center, trauma team for a week. So I essentially was away for 10 days. And it was a really beneficial experience. Again, why do a travelling fellowship? Obviously, some people may not be able to go abroad for a full fellowship for various reasons, and that's completely fine. Doing a travelling fellowship allows you to supplement your UK fellowship with an experience abroad. Now, it can be anything from a week upwards. You can do a week or two, you can do something like 6 weeks, like the AO fellowships. You again meet new people. It's helpful for networking and building links with other centres out of the UK, where you certainly see interesting cases, new systems, different ways of managing the same cases that we see here in the UK. Organising these OTAs, obviously you book it online. When you book, there's lots of sessions that you can subscribe to or book, or added extras. Around the meeting there are some courses. I booked onto the resident fracture course, which runs for 2.5 days, and that talks through fractures of all parts of the skeleton, as well as the pelvis and the spine. But there are also extra sessions that you can subscribe to. There's a lot of research demonstrations in the main meeting. So I did the fracture course, I did a pelvis and acetabulum meeting on the final day. There was a pelvis and acetabulum talk on the penultimate day, which I went to as well. So that's the meeting. Organising the travelling fellowship, what you need to do is you need to ask people in your unit who are interested in your subspecialty if they have any contacts, or if they can advise you on where to go for a travelling fellowship. Now, going these travelling fellowships is not cheap, and certainly is a difficult thing to fund on your own. So there's lots of bursaries and travelling fellowships to apply for, one of which is the BOA, but there will be some local ones that your deanery or region will run, as well as some specific society ones, such as if you are doing a trauma fellowship, then you could look on the Orthopaedic Trauma Society or the relevant society to your subspecialty. I flew from Birmingham. I made the stupid mistake of taking an indirect flight to Montreal, stopping in Paris with a very short flight transfer, under 2 hours, knowing full well that the Charles de Gaulle airport is not ideal for transfers. I had to run between terminals to get my flight on time. Thankfully, my flight was delayed and hadn't started boarding before I got there. I arrived in Montreal. Thankfully, Uber is readily available in Canada and the US, so I took an Uber from the airport to where I was staying. So I was staying in somewhere called Sonder Maisonneuve. It's a block of flats which is run really well, actually. I had a studio with one bed, which is a convertible bed, if that's what you call them. There's one of these that you fold into the wall and you can bring down. I just slept on a sofa because that was too much hassle for me. But it was a nicely furnished, well-equipped studio. It had a nice bathroom. It had a very nice kitchenette with fridge, freezer, microwave, hob, oven, dishwasher. Everything was there. Cutlery, all sorts. There was also a washing machine and a dryer. There was an iron and an iron board. There's a desk to sit on. And best of all, it had a nice gym with an amazing view of the city. First day at the resident fracture course at the Westin Hotel in Montreal. There's Starbucks coffee available for the course. It was an amazing setup, very nice hotel. Food was extraordinary, and everyone was very welcoming in all the sessions. People were very nice, very keen to teach. I made sure to try Canadian specialties with the well-known poutine. I had it more than once and I really recommend it. Now the actual OTA meeting is massive. These are the exhibitor stands. And I talked by various speakers about experience in managing pelvis and acetabular trauma, including Bob O'Toole from Shock Trauma. On the final day, after checking out, I left my suitcase in the lockers in the basement, and then final event was the pelvis and acetabular fracture course / meeting. Lots of orthopedic celebrity, really useful discussions, predominantly around cases. And the faculty rotated around tables with each case. The only free time I had was on the afternoon of the last day, so I made sure to check the Canadian Tim Hortons, which was really yummy. And then a couple of friends and myself went out for a walk. It was really nice and sunny, and we explored Montreal for a bit. Really pretty city. And we had a nice Syrian meal just before parting ways. Picked up my suitcase and headed to the airport for my flight from Montreal to Houston on the Saturday evening / night. A friend of mine from Egypt is living in Houston, so we went out a couple of times. I feasted on this delicacy during my week in Houston. It was amazing, very Christmassy. And we made sure to check traditional Texan barbecue, which is just beyond amazing. Monday morning in Houston, early start. Went to register and get my badges. Everyone's really welcoming and a great experience. Hey, first day in Houston, just got my badge, and then I'll go and complete my check-in before I start. Lovely and very warm down here, and I'd say the medical complex is like a whole city within the city. It's so big. When you say Texas Medical Center, it's lots of different providers, These are all hospital buildings. You can walk around. It's like a whole town. Obviously the air ambulance is very active. This is the Memorial Hermann, which is where I was based. Really nice hospital and very efficient. Classed as number 1 for safety, and the trauma service is meant to be the busiest level 1 trauma center in the US. No shelves with scrubs. You're assigned to a number of scrub sets on your badge, and you can dispense these every day and then return them to that machine. This is Hermann Park, which was in the way from where I stayed to the hospital. I used to run in from day 2 onwards. It was a nice run. It took me about 10 minutes. And these are the views on the way in. This is the Memorial Hermann building from a different angle. It was an early start, so I'd leave at about 5:15 because the meeting starts at 6. This is theatre. Starts at 7 in the morning. Everything is set up ready for the first case. My supervisors there were Dr. Routt, an authority on pelvis and acetabular trauma, as well as Dr. Achor, great experience on treating non-union and infections. I have to say it was a great learning experience being with them. They were both very welcoming. I probably saw about 1 P&A case a day, which is significantly more than what we do in the UK. The theatre coffee room is more than adequately stacked with free stuff that you can help yourself to during the day. Another dinner with my friend in Houston. This is their T-bone steak. I have to say the portions there are just immense. On the Friday evening, Dr. Achor kindly invited me to his house, then took me out for Mexican dinner. Very kind host indeed. Before long it was time to say goodbye, and definitely was sad to say goodbye. I really enjoyed it, and I do highly recommend Houston for anyone who's interested in orthopedic trauma. They are just of a different size, different nature. They deal with a lot of trauma. Their volume is very high, and no wonder they are the busiest level 1 in the US. Every single day they have 5 pure orthopedic trauma theatres running, one of which is prepared to run overnight if needed. That goes to 2 over the weekend, but again prepared to go overnight. The surgeons there are prepared to deal with all sorts of different complexities, from pelvis and acetabular trauma to periarticular trauma. They have a separate spinal team, so they are just focused on orthopedic trauma. The trauma conference starts at 6. They discuss everything that's come in the previous 24 hours. The residents of the fellows are very busy. They have everything set up for the following day with all the theatre lists, and everything is pretty much set up so that in the meeting it's just the cases that get discussed, but every case has a place on the list if it's ready to go. There is a trauma conference once a week on the Wednesday evening where they run through all the cases that's come in the week before and their operative management, and then there is a discussion with the residents and constant teaching from the attendings, and it's a really useful learning experience for the fellows and the residents. They also have specific teaching for the fellows. There is one, I can't remember if it was Wednesday or Thursday, about the same time as the trauma conference, so 6 to 6:30 with Dr. Routt, and then there is the Friday morning with Dr. Achor, which starts at about 5 o'clock or 5:30, and it's complex cases, especially things like non-union and bone infection. Really enjoyed going to that one as well. These are obviously long days, but everyone is pretty keen to get involved and do the best for their patients. Admin staff that helped me with organising my visit from even before landing in Houston were really kind, really supportive, really grateful to them. So yeah, that was my experience. Definitely worth it. Really enjoyed it, and highly recommend doing a travelling fellowship, and highly recommend Houston to anyone who's interested in orthopaedic trauma. And with that out of the way, I shall say goodbye.